You know what? I got a text a couple days ago. Keith, yeah? Tuned into the old morning show. I'm like, yeah? He goes, yeah, I heard you and Marty. I'm like, yeah? He's like, yeah, apparently I'm now the OGG. I'm like, yeah?
Yeah, that's the OGG. Yeah.
Maurice coming in as the OGG here this morning. Hey, we are here to talk CmartyFit. How to build self-discipline. What do you know about that?
Might know a little something, just a little bit.
I got to tell you, when the topic came on the table for January, one gentleman came to my mind, and we got him in the green room. Joe Malone. Joe joined me live in the lab a few months back, and we had an exceptional conversation. He might know a little bit about self-discipline. He's got a story. He's an elite United States soldier. He knows something about self-discipline. So we're going to welcome Joe Malone here in a couple of moments. But hey, Marty, the future has arrived. Oh, there he is. There he is. Hey, Marty, I think we need to create a soundboard sound effect for future.
I'll think of something. I'll get creative with it.
I think you should. Yeah, so I'm going to delegate that to you. It's your task, man. So future, stay tuned. Marty's got a sound effect coming up for you, man.
I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll figure something out.
It's got to be some New Zealandish sound.
We'll see. Maybe.
No, Enzo. So, Enzo, you're revealing our secrets. Keith and Marty, we go extremely live from 7 until 8. And then we go half live from 8 till 9. We run the loop. We just haven't got to the full show here yet. Joe, yes, the sound is echoey on your end. One of the tabs there on your speakers there. If you can mute one of your tabs, that will be helpful for you. Marty, any echo on your side?
It's just a little bit.
Yeah, there's no echo over here. I think we're gonna be. And Jimmy's tuning in here from the producer studio. If there's any echo, Jimmy, let me know. I think we're doing the best we can to eliminate that as we rock and roll forward here. Marty, how was your day yesterday, man?
Pretty productive. Had a good day.
Yeah.
Got a long day today. Yesterday was an easy day, but today it's gonna be a long day. But I'm that's what I'm built for. I'm ready for it.
That's it. What's going on, Enzo? Yes, the herd of sheep. We're following along. People tuning up here this morning. 13 days into the month of January, Nation. Hey, it's your time. Marty, I put a story this morning on the AI podcast, the Keith newscast. Keith, the one that sounds just like Keith. This one here. Yeah, exactly. That one there. Keith. Yeah, so the Keith podcast this morning launched a story about how June is becoming a popular month for people to redeclare and reflect on their slack January goals they've sucked at.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I invite anybody who has not tuned into that, check out the Keith podcast. You can find it on the Business Athlete Performance App website. We got a story about that, which is why Keith and Marty launched January Resolutions, a program, the creator of the athlete and the AI. If you want to help hit your January resolutions, come knock on our door. We'll help you get there. And the course ain't going away. No, we just tease it. We got it going right now this month. It's going to be sitting on the shelf for the whole year. Launch it again in January. It's around to help you guys hit those goals. So, but Marty, why don't we... Marty, Enzo built the deck today.
Good stuff, Enzo.
I don't know. Should we celebrate that for Enzo? Should we get him some applause for?
Good stuff, brother.
Is that an achievement, Enzo? You got to build that deck today.
That's a great achievement.
Speaking of decks, Marty, I'm not going to get into the details, but I will tell you that Lauren and her crew, Sarvina and the crew, had an interesting discovery under the deck yesterday at work. Unfortunate incident. There was some, let's just say, gets cold here in Manitoba, and we suspect somebody might want to sleep here in the wintertime. And
oh, wow. That's crazy, man.
I get a text yesterday morning saying, from Lauren. I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, there's an odor coming from the backyard of our place.
Wow.
Yeah, I just will leave that there. It's morning radio. So speaking of decks, wasn't going to talk about the deck this morning, but
Enzo, thanks, Enzo.
You never know what's underneath the deck, Marty.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Never know it's underneath the deck. Hey, let's bring in our friend. Let's bring in Joe Malone. He's patiently waiting for us in the green room. Let's bring in Joe to talk today about discipline. But first of all, why don't we introduce Joe to the stage? Joe Malone. How are you, pal?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Keith, Marty, doing great.
Awesome.
What's up, Joe?
So, Marty, Joe's joining us from the birds in the backyard of, I think Joe is in Chicago?
Yeah, outside of Chicago.
Just outside of Chicago. Yeah. So, Joe, we have Sarvina joining us here this morning from Winnipeg as well. Marty's waiting for Sarvina to make her some good dal and some good Indian food. And, of course, we have the Future. The Future joins us every single day from New Zealand, Joe, to get a taste of what's going on here in the lab. So we got the Future joining us here today. But hey, we're here to talk self-discipline. And Joe Malone, I welcomed you in because of the experience you've had in life. But let's introduce Business Athlete Nation to who Joe Malone is and why we should care about listening to Joe Malone. Who's Joe Malone?
I mean, I don't know if anybody should care. But a little bit about myself. I just got involved with a bad crowd at an early age and ended up doing a lot of hard drugs, heroin, crack. And by the time I turned 19, I was in the Marine Corps. Ended up doing 13 years in the Marine Corps, joined the Special Operations Command. As I was getting out, I dealt with a lot of concussive injuries, which really affects the way that you think and behave. And almost ended up taking my life a bunch of times. Ended up homeless, dead broke, turned it all around pretty quickly. And there's no turning back, man. Now I got a beautiful family, a wife and 2 sons, and we live in a beautiful home, and we just do beautiful things. And life is truly abundant. So
you can see why I set him up, hey, Marty?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Definitely gonna be some good self-discipline talk today. Just from hearing that.
A lot of transformations, yeah.
Yeah, Marty.
Do you have any sports background or anything like that?
So I played. Well, I was like the kid in right field pulling the grass in baseball. So I didn't really do too good at baseball for many years. And then I did football in junior high, which I really enjoyed, and I was actually pretty good at it. Went out for the high school team, but the drug use, I ended up dropping out of all that really quickly. And there was some weird stuff going on in terms of hazing, like some really, I don't want to get into on the morning show, but point is that the law enforcement was eventually involved with the football team and stuff. And so that and the drug use really prevented me from doing so. I actually didn't run until I tried out for the Marine Corps for like 5 or 6 years. And it was like a half mile, almost died. Literally, like my heart rate was at like 200 beats per minute. But yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
200 is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, don't quote me on the 200. People are gonna like research, be like, that's impossible.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't want that.
I was puking, I was collapsing. That was my reality check when it came to physical fitness. I was like, man, I'm in horrible condition. So
sometimes we need that. Sometimes you got to get that butt kicking, and it's gonna wake you up and change your life. I'm sure we've all been there. I know with me, I played D1 basketball, just messing around in the summer, not coming back to summer school prepared. We get to go home for 2 weeks, and I'm at home having fun, and I get my butt kicked, and never again. I never want to feel like that again. So
pain retains, my friend. Pain retains.
I like that.
So Joe, you grew up in Chicago? No? Yeah. And I know when we met a few weeks back, grew up in Chicago. Ended up hanging over on the south side of Chicago, which ended up, I believe, if I can paraphrase, set the direction for a newfound life. When you woke up one day going, okay, this ain't working out for me. I got to get off the south side and I got to get onto the different side of the tracks. Talk about those moments as you were moving your way towards a direction of positivity. Talk about those last weeks, those last days on the south side of Chicago, Joe.
So. I had known that I needed to get out of what I was doing for a while. I mean, I was shooting up dope for about 1.5 years, 2 years. So about 16 to 18 years old. And I'd overdosed a couple of times. I'd already lost several friends who overdosed, suicide and stuff. And I just knew that I needed to get out of it. But for whatever reason, I was just hell-bent on destroying myself. And it wasn't until my best friend, who used a lot of drugs with me growing up. I mean, he's more than a best friend. He was a brother. He never got into the hard stuff when we were that young. And so he joined the Marine Corps, and I saw his transformation. And this is going to be really important when we begin to talk later about the development of self-discipline, is that the emotionalization that ignited within me over the fact that I saw my best friend and my brother change so drastically, it showed me that there was more to life that I just didn't understand. And I was a pretty worldly kid, but there was something internally that I could explore that I never knew about before. And once I saw that, there was no turning back. I literally handed over 2 fresh packs of smokes to John's little brother. I said, "Here, take these. I'm joining the Marine Corps." He laughed. And if you talk to anybody who knew me from back in the day, they don't recognize me. So that was like the first real moment that I said I need to make a change, and I did.
That's what struck me. And Marty, I want to come to you for something you said a couple of days ago, because we were talking, Marty, a couple of days ago around how to beat sugar and how to beat junk food addictions. And this whole month we've been talking about junior resolutions, how to create consistency. And Marty, you talked about when you did your 75 hard. You didn't lament about it. You didn't kind of sit back and go, "Well, I think I'm going to start next Monday. I think I'm going to start Friday." You just did it.
It was literally the next day. Like, I just turned it on.
And when I talked to Joe, and this is why I was so inspired to have him on today. When I talked to Joe originally, and I got a good vibe from Joe, got along with the dude, I'm like, "Hey man, I'm vibing with you, man. I want to keep getting to know you." When he said to me that, "Yeah, Keith, I had this epiphany where my buddy was going on the Marines, and I couldn't let him go by myself. I couldn't let him go by himself." And something, I'll use my word, Joe, something snapped in my head where, "Okay, I'm going too." And it's like Marty's saying, "Okay, I'm doing 75 hard." Like, Joe, you had been considering it. You've been thinking about it, perhaps. There's something in your brain kind of going through it, but something snapped. You're like, "I'm going to do it." And I start there because when we get into the conversation around self-discipline, to me, that's the first step right there, which is, okay, I'm making this decision. Now I got to go every single day. Because before that, Joe, the discipline was a negative reinforced discipline, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I mean, drug use and addiction, mentally, physically, when it comes to that opiate stuff. Yeah, it was definitive.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it. You're just doing it. Morning, Lauren, with shaking, baby girl. And hey, we got Mike McCullen joining us. He joined us earlier this week. He's joining us from Lima, Peru. Joe, he talks south side of Chicago. If you go down there, you better just be aware of a man named Leroy Brown. I'm thinking that maybe Joe maybe cross paths over time with him. But Marty, you got something up for Joe as before we wrap up and get into the accountability check-in?
Yeah, I was going to say. So you made that decision. You got in the Marines. Now, how did the Marines shape your discipline? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with discipline as adults because, like me, I got the sports background. You have the Marine background. A lot of people don't have that structure. So how did that structure also play on to you changing your trajectory as you got older and on your path as a man?
Man, Marty, that question just gave me like crazy chills. So while I still got this in my mind, that's such a great question. It taught me how to function in both. I can converge my focus into the tactical and diverge my focus into the strategic, and it could all be unknown. It could all be completely dark. Everything that I'm doing, I have no idea if I'm even making progress, especially initially, because you don't know what you're doing. You're trying something new, developing discipline and these new habits, especially when you're trying to attain a new goal, become a new human being, a new person. It is so scary. That's why so many people never do it. It is so unknown, and you're putting in all this work, all this effort. It's like being an entrepreneur. You don't know if everything you're doing is a waste of freaking time. And so being in the military did really structure in me the ability to remain consistent, which is a huge attribute to self-discipline. It allowed me to be consistent even when I was confused and lost. And so that, along with land navigation with a compass and a map, both of those taught me remain consistent, believe in yourself, believe in the process. Where did you get the information from is very important. And I had faith that the Marine Corps wasn't going to lead me astray with that information. And so if you get bad information from somebody, like a lot of these fake coaches out there, I mean, you're just going to be doomed then, because you're putting your faith in darkness. But having the right information, continuing to move forward, continuing to maintain the process, even though you don't know what's going on, that's really the biggest thing I think I got from it.
I like that, Marty? Having the right information. Hey, Joe, because we're served up with, in a world with so much misinformation and fake news, and who knows whether it's real or not real, the fact that you hung on that statement of, I got the right information and that information served me well. Because up until then, Joe, you were being served a bunch of information by a bunch of people that you just didn't trust, didn't know. They were just giving it to you, weren't they? Like, oh, I'll take it, following down the wrong path, right?
Well, I did trust them, and they manipulated me, and that was me putting my faith in something that wasn't good. It was negativity, it was darkness, it was evil. Yeah, man, in the drug world, there's a lot of demons possessing a lot of people, that's for sure.
Isn't that true? Yes, Sorvina, I love it too, man. The sparrows chirping in the back, it's the epitome of morning discussion here. So we're enjoying those.
I like it.
Yeah, so do I. I absolutely do as well. Yeah, we're not doing the noise cancellation in the post-production of the birds later, I'll tell you. All right, hey, listen. So we're coming into the accountability check-in here. Joe, we're just going to put you off the screen for a quick second here. Myself and Marty, we're going to dig up to the accountability check-in. It's this point in the show where we like to... Oh, Enzo's got to leave. Enzo, dude, you can't leave, man. Bad storm, power outages, all right. You come back when you get a chance here, Enzo. You come back during the future. Hey, Marty, we got a storm coming to Canada, I guess, because it's over there in the future. So it's working.
Maybe.
Hey, today's accountability check-in, Marty. We are all about all your plans and best intentions. All those plans, all those best intentions. In my experience, they are. I need to pull this up here. I'm going to pull this down here. All right, so all of those plans, all those best intentions mean nothing, Marty Fit, without self-discipline. We all got dreams. We all like to dream. Dreaming big is easy. We all wake up with big dreams. Dream. But Marty, we both know showing up, hardest thing to do. Right? We all got dreams, but it's this idea of trying to figure out whether we're going to follow through on those dreams and make them come up. That's where the magic happens. Self-discipline. Self-discipline's the key. It cultivates consistency. It shapes the habits that move you forward. It guarantees unstoppable progress. And Marty, those habits that you've cultivated, I've cultivated, Joe Malone's cultivated, those habits define you, man. They define you, not the intentions that we have. We all got intentions, Marty. We're all like, oh yeah, I got this dream, I got this idea I want to do. I want to do this, want to do this. But then in my experience, and I'm suspecting yours as well, the hardest thing to do is to follow through with it, is to make those intentions happen, right? And we're gonna ask Joe Malone that question in a few moments. But you have an intention. How do you make it happen? And then how do you make it happen every single day, over and over and over and over? And Marty, it comes down to one thing, and I believe you believe in it too, man. It comes down to how self-disciplined you are. Not much rocket science going on there. And I think that's why this discussion is so meaningful to so many human beings, because there's actually no magic here. Marty.
You mentioned something in the beginning of that. You said show up. And a lot of people say showing up is half the battle. But I honestly think it's more than half the battle. Because if you think about it, right? On those days you dread going to the gym. You don't feel like doing your workout, right? There's no way that you're going to show up and just either not put in 100% or turn around and go home. It's not happening. So if you keep showing up, right, you're going to keep giving 100% effort. You're going to keep doing it when you don't feel like it. You're going to keep building that mental muscle, right? So I think showing up might be more than half of the battle, and I'm glad you actually touched on that because, like I said, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to half your workout, half ASS your workout, and give poor effort. So that's my take on everything you said.
I like that, Marty. So we got to do more than just show up. Your habits Your habits define you, not your intentions. That is today's accountability check-in this morning. Mornings in the lab with Keith, friends, CmartyFit. You have an intention right now as you're waking up this morning. You have this dream you have this morning. Showing up is the first step. Doing it every single day, creating that self-discipline is the key to having that success. Joe Malone. Marty talked about this idea of showing up is only half the battle. Joe, where does showing up fall into your purview of importance when it comes to that self-discipline as we move from accountability check-in to really digging into this topic, Joe, about how do we teach somebody self-discipline? How do we teach somebody to build that self-discipline, what they hate to do over and over and over? This is the meat and potatoes of the discussion I wanted to get in with you today because, my friend, I know, your battle through life, you've had to teach yourself that self-discipline. How do we teach people today self-discipline, Joe Malone?
So showing up reminds me of this saying I had when I lived out on the coast and I used to surf all the time. I would tell people, if you can't pedal out, then you'll never ride the wave. And it's just so true with anything, that if you never take the first step, if you never get in the water and put in the effort to get to X, Y, or Z, then you're never going to get the opportunity to even ride the wave of joy, transformation, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in life. And so you must be present. You must show up. Now, when it comes to developing self-discipline, I'll kind of just explain how I have done it and how I've helped people, and maybe it'll work for somebody, and maybe they'll tell me to kick rocks. But the first thing is that we need to recognize discipline is at the most, I'm a Marine, right? Most fundamental, simplest, form. I am truly a simpleton. I like things to be as simple as possible. So that's how I approach everything. So what is discipline? Well, discipline is a series of neural networks in the brain that are really solid. They're very thick and solidified due to information going over those networks over and over and over again. This equates to habit. So the more solid a neural network is within your brain, it gets programmed into the subconscious, because your brain consciously, whenever it does conscious thought, it burns a lot of calories. And when it puts it into the subconscious, it burns less calories. And because it wants to always conserve energy, if you do something repetitively, so if you think a negative thought repetitively about yourself, subconscious, habitual thought process, now you have a negative disposition on life. If you do something physically that's positive every day, like get up at the same time to work out and make your body healthy, that solidifies a neural network. It becomes a part of who you are because it's programmed in your subconscious, part of your habit. So discipline is the collection of habits in both thought and action throughout your day, each and every day, which becomes you, your paradigm. How do you talk to yourself? How do you view the world? How do you respond to things within your environment? That's the first thing. And so once we accept that, and once we understand that from a scientific perspective, now we need to assess. So, hey, who do we want to be in this life? Do I want to be a man who walks slowly with his chest up high and his chin out? Do I want to be somebody who is observant of their environment so that I can look out for the well-being of other people, my own personal safety and other people's safety? Do I want to have an energy of love and positivity and listen to people and be there for people? Who do you want to be in this life? It could be anybody. And once you assess, hey, this is who I want to be, now you need to identify the habits that you currently partake in every single day that prohibit you from accomplishing that person. And it does take a moment. You have to sit down, you have to write this stuff out. And writing it out actually helps solidify new neural networks in the brain. And once you identify the habits that are prohibiting you or debilitating you from making that progress, now you replace those habits with ones that will work for you. And as you begin to think and put this stuff in paper, you're already rewiring the structures in your brain. It's called neuroplasticity. And that brings us to the next most important part about all this process is emotionalizing. When you get emotional about something, your neural networks in your brain solidify at a way more rapid rate than any other time. So when you think about all your life experiences, the farthest memories all the way back probably had deep emotional tethers, because when we experience something emotionally, the neurochemicals, the hormones our body produces, it solidifies that connection, that experience, that recollection, and it puts that immediately into the deepest parts of your brain. So not only have we assessed who we want to be, identified the habits that keep us from being that person, identify the habits that will get us there. Now we're going to replace those habits, and we're getting emotional over the fact that we're making that progress. And you have to start slow. I start my clients off with waking up early and drinking a tall glass of water for 7 straight days. I won't even talk to them anymore. If you are one of my clients and you join, you say, Joe, I want to become successful and I want to have self-discipline. I say, wake up at this time based off your schedule and drink a tall glass of water. Send me a video of you drinking it every single day for 7 days. And if you don't, I will not move you to the next days, because you're not even in it, man. You're not even in it. You're not present. You're not showing up. That's what it comes down to at that point. And so just to quickly cap this off is, you have to, after you get emotional, move your body, take the action, also physically exercise. You need to talk to yourself in a different way to develop a new paradigm, new belief system. And then you need to remain consistent, trust that roadmap, trust that blueprint, trust the process. Even though you're not seeing results, they will come.
Yeah. Marty.
No, I like that. I was going to say that the first thing that stuck out to me was when you said part of self-discipline is positive thinking, the positive thoughts. Right? You think self-discipline, you just think about action. Get up early, go to the gym, have a good attitude at work. You think of action, but positive thoughts is part of self-discipline. I love that. And then you just mentioned something, with me being a coach too, this stuck out to me, with you telling your clients to drink a glass of water every morning. And a lot of people probably won't understand why that's important or why you're asking them to do that, right? They might think it's stupid. Like, that's stupid. That's not gonna help me lose 30 pounds. I want to lose 30 pounds. But it's just the fact that you're willing to be coachable, right? And that's like a great first step, just to see like where their mindset is. So I love that. I might have to take that from you, Joe. So sorry. So if you see that on my LinkedIn or my Instagram or something, I took it from Joe Malone. So sorry.
Yeah, man. Nah, dude. That's what these conversations are for, man. We learn from each other. Please.
Sure.
That's it. Yeah. Joe, your comments about drinking water and Marty jumping on that as well reminds me of something my dad taught me growing up in those old militaristic ways, which was, polishing your shoes and tying your shoelaces a certain way, right, Joe? And you're thinking, why the hell is that so important? Or making my bed or tucking like those innocuous moments that you wonder why it's so important. But it's not really about drinking the water every single morning, is it, Joe? That has nothing to do with it. Like Marty said, drinking the water has nothing to do with losing the weight. It's the first step in you coaching me to see if I'm going to be open to you teaching me how to get past drinking the water. That's really what it's about, as Marty said, isn't it? It's those little micro habits that we don't think about that we need to do before we can get to the macro habit to build the self-discipline. Am I making sense of that, Joe, Marty?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything that I assign somebody to do, well, one, I've done it myself, so I know that it works in the process of building momentum, because you have to build momentum first. You can't just say, do all this stuff.
Yes.
You're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to shut down. You're going to go back to the comfort zone, your psychocybernetic mechanism. You're going to fall into the person who you least want to maintain yourself as being. But I also have a primary objective and then supplementary objectives as well. And so, for example, drinking the tall glass of water, not only is it a new thing you're doing throughout your day, you can't physically do the same stuff every day, think the same thoughts every day and expect different results. That's not going to happen. You're going to be the same human. So it disrupts your current cycle of behavior. It does hydrate you, which is great first thing in the morning. It allows you to wake up, washes out all the dreary sleep hormones. It makes your brain function better. It does kick the metabolism off, actually. So even from a weight loss perspective. So those are all like those supplementary benefits as well. And I actually write these all out and I put them in the roadmap, and I'm saying, hey, when you just do this, these are all the new things. You're creating new neural networks in your brain, new physical habits throughout your day, which opens up, it makes you more malleable to greater change, because we got to slowly open up your consciousness. And we do that by changing your physical habits. But absolutely, it's not just about drinking water. It's about all these other things that come along with just doing that.
Yeah. We got some comments from the crowd here. Mike jumps in with Fit Presenter. I like this one because you mentioned a few moments ago. I know Marty did this as well. But if you can't paddle out, you'll never ride the wave. That's a powerful statement, man, because you can stand there all you want and dream. But if you can't get the wave, you're just going to stand there dreaming, right? You're just going to keep dreaming. Oh, I want to surf. So if you can't do that. And then Enzo joins us from the future. He says, I'm taking your advice as well. I haven't really been a morning water drinker, more of a milk or juice, but this has me intrigued. Thanks, Joe, for the tip. And Joe, when you talk about it, Marty, you talk about starting your day with water. Boys, I want you to discuss this idea of trying to do too much too quick. I think a lot of people who want to create self-discipline are like, okay, well, Joe, I got to get the water in and I got to get my macros in. I got to get all this done on my first 3 days. And you both as coaches are saying, no, hold on, Keith. I'm trying to teach you some discipline. We're not gonna catch the wave by Wednesday. We got to stand. We got to analyze. We got to look. We got to teach you a few things. Talk about this idea of doing one thing added to the list at a time to remove, Joe, one bad thing from the bad list at a time, because you can't just all of a sudden add 5 new habits to try to replace 5 bad habits. Marty, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I train mostly women, and, they're very self-conscious about their body image. And I'll give them, a simple direction. Hey, let's eat 3 meals a day. Let's focus on that, right? And then they'll say, they'll come in after day 2. Do I look skinnier? And it's like, oh, you're focused on the wrong thing. So that just and the women who are successful, and my male clients as well, those are the ones who, they follow directions, and then we can focus on protein intake. All right, let's focus on water intake. Let's focus on increasing weight. So that absolutely works. And the same with athletics. With me coming from basketball background, right? We do preseason in phases. So we'll work on the full court press, right? We'll work on conditioning. We'll work on our offense. Everything is in phases. It's like one thing at a time. So it's crazy how, that's kind of the formula that works in different areas in life. So definitely.
But Joe and Marty, how do you convince somebody, and Joseph, over to you, how do you convince somebody that self-discipline is not a quick fix? That you got to start with the water on week 1. Week 2 is going to be this. Yes, Keith, I know you want to wait.
Well, you didn't end up in gaining 30 pounds in one day, right? That took time. That took years of bad habits. That took years of consistency, like we talked about yesterday. You know how to be consistent. You're just consistent with the wrong things, right? So even with Joe's past, when he ended up, I don't know if you said homeless or wherever you were in your dark place, that took a level of consistency with the bad decisions, So you had to turn that around and just shift the consistency.
That's what's fascinating to me, Marty, when I invited Joe into the show here, and Joe, over to you in a second here. But the fact that, Marty, Joe consistently created the self-discipline of bad habit. And that's why I was fascinated, Joe, that all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got to do one thing. I've mastered it. Now I'm going to get to the second thing, the third thing. Like, you had to reteach your whole human this idea of self-discipline, Joe Malone. How do you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 new tasks to rewire your whole body, your whole mind?
Keith, I want to ask Joe this too before you. Can you hold that question? So, Joe, do you think that you already had the skill set of consistency, and you just kind of had to use it in a different way?
If I did, it was unconscious and it wasn't intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably being generated and cultivated from within me based off of corrupt desire. But at the same time, I want to say consciously no, because in order to redirect, I think it's easy to be consistent at being inconsistent and bad. I don't think that requires a lot of effort to be a ship without a rudder, to be just getting thrown about the sea. You're consistently being thrown about. I think that it really does, though, require talent and skill, or at least some sort of concentrated effort to focus and then be consistent. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how to answer that.
Lauren jumps in here because, we often talk about, you don't just wake up and have success, right? She talks about trust the process, and the physical aesthetic is the byproduct, right? Marty, you got your clients coming to you saying, Marty, I want better arms. I want better shoulders. Well, it ain't going to happen overnight. It's just not going to instantly happen, right? It's starting with, as Joe said, drinking that cup of water every single day for 7 days. And then I'll move you to the next thing. And then over time, that those goals you are desiring to have, maybe you want to have the nicer shoulders or the smaller waist or whatever that is, that's going to be the byproduct over time, but that can't be the goal. That can't be the reason you're doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Enzo pops in and says, a way I taught myself self-discipline was when I broke my leg. I had to get back into running to strengthen my leg as rehab. I started off 5-minute runs every single day, then 10 minutes after 2 lots of 5. And then he went to 15, 20, 20, 40. Trust the process. And Joe, as you were moving from bad to good, how did you learn to trust the process? And then how do you teach your customers to trust the process?
So by being a simpleton, like truly, I mean, when I just want to understand the most basic, I don't need the advanced explanation of all things. I just need to know, how does something basically work? Like, what are the fundamentals of life? And when you break it all down, it comes down to vibration, the law of vibration. Everything is energy, everything vibrates. And then, so I understood that at the most fundamental level, if I operate and vibrate at a high frequency, well, based off the law of vibration, I'm resonating at that frequency, positive things that I want to attract into my life. But without diving into all of that, because I say I'm a simpleton, but then I talk about quantum physics. But it really truly is like the simplest. I'm not saying I understand quantum physics. I just know that. But I think brand is the biggest way that you convince people. And I tell a lot of my clients this because they have family members or people they love and care about. I have people I love and care about. Well, my friends are still using drugs and going to prison and stuff. And people I love and care about, I don't associate with them anymore. But I don't think that we could ever tell people things that will convince them. I think people need to be open. They need to open their self, their consciousness, and their heart to allow that to come in. Kind of like Bruce Lee talked with the Kung Fu master about, you must empty your cup before it can be filled with the new information. And I think the best way that we do that in life is to lead by example, live within conscious alignment of the word that we speak, and magnetize those people towards you based off of the example and the life that you're living. So when people look at me back in the day now, and they see me on social media, especially my friends from when I was in my drug years, they're like, bro, who are you? How did you do this? Immediately, because they've seen such crazy contrast. The magnetizing force for them is so extreme because they're just so curious. And then I could tell them, and then based off of, hey, what do you really truly want out of your life? Are you saying you're just dissatisfied, but you're really not? Or are you really trying to make that life change? And for the ones who are ready to show up and make that life change, they're already convinced. And so they just kind of ask for the explanation at some point along the way, which, because I am so simple, I could break it down into the simplest of forms that anybody could understand. And so I really think a brand has a lot to do with informing in a persuasive way that what you're saying actually works because you live it.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's interesting. Marty, over to you for a question in a second. Mike McClellan jumps in and says, yeah, as a distance runner, I always say the finish line is just a coincidence. Semper Fi. Isn't that true, right? Because again, I'm going to do a 26-mile race, and it just so happens that if I keep moving my feet one in front of the other, I will inevitably get to the end.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of focusing on the end. Marty.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to focusing on the end, what's some advice, or what's something you tell your clients or your people you coach? What do you tell them to stop focusing on just the end? How do you get them to stay on track with the process? And that's probably the biggest thing for me as a coach. Just getting the people to be focused in the moment and keep showing up, like we just mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I tell them to shut up.
Yeah, I like that.
Straight up.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Is that this one here?
What's that?
That's the response, just the crickets, right? You tell them shut up. Yeah.
That's the, you really need to disrupt. So Tony Robbins talks about, thought patterns and like disrupting certain thoughts. And I don't know if you ever saw his documentary. I'm not sure. Your Guru, there's the Russian dude ready to kill himself. He's expressing his desire to kill himself in front of all these people. Tony's towering over him, super emotionally charged moment. And Tony goes, why do you want to kill yourself? Is it because of your stupid red shoes? And he's like, what? And he's like, your shoes, they're stupid. And he's like, okay, I'm pouring my heart out to you, dude. And he's like, I know you are, and I'm here and I hear you, but I needed to disrupt your thought pattern because you were going down a dark hole and there's no way I was going to get you out of that. And so I think it's important to have the ability to understand human psychology so that we could disrupt people's negative thought patterns and their thought process, because they're going to do it. they're going to want to focus on the end result because that's what they're getting emotionally charged over. So you need to focus that energy that they're getting emotionally charged over, because initially, hey, the end result's why we get pumped. How do we get pumped over the tactical steps along the way in the process? And this is where I think coaching gets really difficult, because how do you balance the time and your own energy and effort with everybody if you have a bunch of clients, especially? And this is kind of why I haven't really been able to scale beyond, I don't know, 50 people, because how do I continuously realign your focus back here to the tactical step and keep you emotionally motivated over it? Well, I have to tell you to shut up. I have to disrupt your thought pattern and your thought process, and I have to get you back on track and refocus. That's that divergence down to convergence now. And the way that I gained experience from this was being in combat, where you understand what the strategic goal, the commander's intent of the objective is. So, hey, we're going to take down this house and, you know, take these people out or whatever. But in the process thereof, you have to do a lot of things. Every step matters, because you can take a bullet to the face. So from where you pull up the vehicle, the direction the vehicle is pointing, how you get off the helicopter, the way that you point you're taking down security, the way you approach the door, looking out for IEDs, the way that you're approaching danger zones, your night vision goggles, your weapon system, communications, communicating the information back to everybody else. There's all these little tactical steps that, especially once the bullets start flying, I need to seek cover, concealment, identify where they're at, closing with based off fire maneuver. You need to be capable of really switching on and off, or in and out, that level of focus. And so by yielding those experiences that I have had, and by understanding the person and the individual that I'm working with, because not everybody's going to be the same. You can't tell everybody to shut up. I mean, you do in one way or another. And quite honestly, I mean, to some degree, you could tell everybody to shut up, but it'll have varying effect. Might not always be the most effective way to do it. And so, you know, like, for example, a girl I worked with, she was sexually assaulted. She was raped. And we were working on getting her sense of self back, her personal empowerment. And I was just on Dropping Bombs podcast with Bradley a few days ago talking about this, where what was the number one thing that made her feel confident in herself, that allowed her to open up her blinds again? It was firearms training, the ability to develop a true sense of safety and security, because nobody could now take that away from her, because she was competent with the gun. It wasn't just to level the playing field, it's to give her this overwhelming advantage against everybody who ever might harm her again. And when she would start to get distracted by the fact that she wasn't shooting very well the first week, I would tell her, shut up and think about your rapist. Think about that person. Now she is emotionally not just charged, she's driven, she's dedicated. She'll do anything. And I apologize, but
yeah,
when I think about that poor girl, she's not a poor girl. She's an incredibly empowered young woman at this point now. And when I think about the difference that she made when I first met her versus just a few short months after, yeah. So for her, it wasn't telling her to shut up. It was in a different way, right? Hey, stop thinking about the end result and the fact that you can't shoot very well. Think about what you need to think about today. And that's how I did it with her.
That's a powerful analogy, because when you think about those words, shut up, it's in some ways, some would reflect upon maybe using terms like tough love, right? Two other words, right? When in reality, you're using other two words, which is self-reflection. You're asking that young lady to look in the mirror and say, hey, there's something inside of you that we need to find a way to unlock this emotion to help you strike change. And by your working with her, Joe, that emotion was giving her the confidence, that self-belief, and that firearm training gave her that self-confidence, that self-belief. It taught her how to not to shut up. It taught her how to believe in herself, didn't it?
Yeah. You're what you're really telling to shut up is the negative thought patterns that are going to come out, because that's what is most solidified in our brain. We always default to the negative. It's a basic survival mechanism. That's why we always see the 50 bad things that could happen, and we always push aside the one great thing that probably is most likely to happen. And so because we have that negative default belief system, that's what we need to tell it to shut up. We need to tell that negative part of you, the part that is disbelieving, the part that is disempowering. That's what we're telling to shut up. We're not telling you, the human, the soul.
No.
We're not telling you to shut up. We're telling that negativity within you to shut up.
And this is the problem I'm suspecting. And before we get into our creator spotlight here in a moment, and then boys, I want to wrap up the chat here today around this one topic for both of you. What's the role of an accountability partner, an accountability coach, an accountability human at helping somebody teach self-discipline? But it's this, when you're telling somebody to shut up, Marty, in your role, or Joe, in your role, it's, that's really ultimately what humans need to hear, isn't it? I know it's tough, but because naturally we will always go back to what makes it comfortable, is just, we're just going to accept what we know. And until we accept that, okay, Joe's telling me, Keith, stop. You know, Marty's saying, Bilous, you can't eat this, man. Just don't eat it. Like, shut up, man. Put this freaking chocolate down. Like that's the same message you're giving me, isn't it, Joe? Like, it's teaching me that this is not good. It's that whole idea of shut up. You can't do it.
Yeah, we also use those negative thoughts in order to have an excuse.
Yes.
To keep ourselves stagnant, which is really regression, because there is no stagnation in life. You're either growing or you're dying in everything. That's trees, birds, people. So keep that in mind. When you start letting those thoughts creep in, you're becoming what I call drunk off of the desire to quit and remain the same. Don't make decisions while drunk off that desire to quit from a roadmap and a blueprint you created when you were sober of mind and driven to change who you are.
Interesting. Don't make those decisions when you're drunk off the situation at hand. I find that statement interesting, Joe, because, you know, when you made your decision to say, I got to get out of this, right? And sometimes, Marty, you know, you'll have a client walk into you because they just visited a doctor. The doctor's like, hey, Keith, yeah, you got to lose 100 pounds or you're going to die tomorrow. Oh, it's like we sometimes need something to happen to us before we can reflect upon we need to make change. True story, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It is unfortunate. Yeah. Gents, let's pivot our chat. What a great conversation you guys are on how to create self-discipline. It is we all desire it. We all have intentions. We all want to be entrepreneurs, but creating self-discipline is creating change of habit. And it's often telling ourselves those negative habits to shut up and put them away. But before we come in to wrap up our chat around what's the role of an accountability partner, what's the role of a coach, how does Joe help you hit your goals, how does Marty help you hit your goals, how does old Uncle Keith help you hit your goals? We're going to come back to that in a moment. But before we do that, guys, I want to take a second here. And what we like to do at this time in the show, Marty, is what we call the creator spotlight. And Joe, we love on Mornings in the Lab to take a big light and shine it on people doing great work that are moving from aspiration, moving from intention, moving to creating great habits and building great things. And we call this the Creator Spotlight. And at this point in the show where I want to take a light and I want to shine it on this gentleman who I saw yesterday. And, you know, we're all trying to build our businesses. We're all trying to do our stuff up here on LinkedIn and Instagram and all these social platforms. And we're like, how do I get more people liking my stuff? How do I get more followers? How do I build a bigger community? Well, Tom Pestridge is today's Creator Spotlight. Tom, there you go, Tom. We're shining light on Tom today. So Tom made a post yesterday, which really struck me, which is why I wanted to shine a light on Tom, because he says, hey guys, if you really want to get visibility on the platform, if you really want to achieve the growth you want on the platform, if you want to have the discipline of having success on the platform, stop posting. But start commenting. Comment are like mini posts. They're quick to execute. They allow you to engage more frequently. I've learned myself, I've talked with Marty about this before, the more time you spend in the comments, the quicker you're going to build your community, the quicker you're going to engage, the more time you are going to have success. And these little things of building discipline in the comments are going to move you from 1 follower to 5 followers to 10 followers. So I will invite you to check out Tom Pestridge. He's got some great content on his profile, but the one that stood out for me the most was yesterday when he really stood out and said, hey, if your posts aren't getting the visibility as you want, you need to comment more. Simple as that. Comments are like mini posts. They're quick to execute. They allow you to engage more frequently. They increase your visibility. So while you sit here and you go, I'm going to make one post. Great. One post is about you. Get out into Joe Malone's comments. Get out there and see Marty Fit's comments. Get out into my comments. Get into Krosky's comments. Comment. When you do that, you're exposing yourself to a bunch of other people. You're going to increase your list. You're going to increase your profile. And Tom Pestridge, who drives growth for startups, scale-up, SaaS, and beyond. He's the founder of the Goose Agency. Joins us. Well, he doesn't join us, but Tom, you're invited. He's from Birmingham, England, and he's somebody who I've been following here on the platform, and he's offering great tips about how to increase your visibility on Google, how to increase your visibility across the platform, and so forth. So, Tom Pestridge, this morning you are being featured in our Creator Spotlight here live in the lab with Keith CmartyFit, Joe Malone, today about how to build. Nominate somebody moving forward for our next Creator Spotlight. So, gents, the last segment of the show. Marty, I'm going to throw it to you first before I throw it over to Joe. What's the role of an accountability partner? What's the role of CmartyFit? What's the role of Joe Malone when I call and say, guys, I'm struggling to not eat this. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to change some habits. I want to create self-discipline. What's the role you play, Marty, in that process?
Well, it's a few different things, but I do want to highlight what Joe just said. It needs to be that person to tell you to shut up when it's necessary. Sometimes we get caught up in our negative thoughts, and the shut up isn't disrespectful, right? I'm not trying to be condescending, and a lot of people, especially in America, I'm sure it's in Canada too, they get caught up in tone and they want to be coddled, but you're not going to make a shift if you're just getting coddled, you know. So an accountability partner is someone that's going to be honest with you and someone that's going to give you that kick in the butt or tell you that harsh truth that you need to hear. Tough love. I think, Joe, you mentioned that earlier. Sometimes we need that tough love. So, accountability partner is that person that's going to do whatever it takes to get you to the next level, even if it's going to make you uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Joe, play off Marty's comments on that. Obviously, you believe in. I shouldn't say obviously you believe in tough love, but you're the first person to say no. Here's how. If you really want to have success, it's worked for me, Keith. So you got to do it this way. Joe, talk about the role of an accountability partner in helping somebody achieve self-discipline.
Yeah, it's huge. It's so huge because you need to be worried about letting somebody down. I've had clients tell me, I'm more worried about letting you down than my wife. Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense because you're with your wife every single day for 30 years. They've been married a long time. And so there's less worry about judgment of character. But when you say something, especially as a man or a woman, you say something out loud to somebody else, there's this stress now associated with the truth of that comment. And I think accountability partners have to love each other, or at least one loves the other that they're keeping accountable. So the one that loves the other is the one who is the one keeping them accountable. If you're making change, Keith, I love you, so I'm going to be your accountability partner. You don't have to love me, but I have to love you. And love is an action, and love ain't lies. And I don't even know if I would even call it ever tough love. I think love is just love. It is being honest for the betterment of the individual. And, the Greeks have like 3 or 5 different words that they use to talk about love. And I think this version that we're talking about here is agape. I think I could be wrong, but it's like the friendship love, the battle brotherhood love. And I'm not worried about offending you because my intention is nothing more than just to tell you the things that I would want you to tell me if I was falling off alignment with my true self and the person that I want to become. And so I think that there has to be a degree of love and care for the person you're going to keep accountable. And you also have to have the knowledge and the skill, though, I think, to give them advice like, hey, don't eat those Reese's, right? No. Instead, say, I'll be there in 5 minutes to eat those Reese's for you. No, I'm just joking. But I really will. But, you have to tell them, hey, replace those Reese's with apples, and now every day you're walking by apples or something like that. I think James Clear talks about that in Atomic Habits, Triggers, and stuff.
I love that you've talked about love, Joe, because in the military where it is very masculine and misogynistic and, you know, all that masculinity and so forth. We don't talk enough about love, because when you're going out there in the battlefield, and that's what struck me when I met you, when you said to me, well, yeah, Keith, I had to go to the military because my buddy was going and I couldn't let him go himself. And I'm like, who are you? Like, you couldn't let him go because of love. And it's not this mushy romantic rom-com love. It's the love of a human, isn't it, Joe? And it's that love that when you're on the armored vehicle with your other mates, that you're loving Keith, you're loving Marty because you got my back. That's what you're talking about with love, isn't it? It's that unconditional, I got your back, because we're all trying to achieve the same thing. And in order for us to achieve the same goal, I need you to be accountable to what we're all signed up for. We're all in this together. Hard for teams and hard for people to do, but that's really what you're talking about, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah, it's it's the action in itself. And people don't talk about love a lot in the military, no, but it's shown every single day.
Yeah.
In actual action. When a dude runs into a building to pull out another guy who's been shot, with a great likelihood of him getting shot and killed as well, and he's got a wife and kids at home, there is no greater gift. There is
That's
none.
love.
And if you've never loved some people like that before, strangers, it's difficult for you to develop that ability to just instantly love strangers. And I think that's another really unique experience that my life has allowed me and afforded me the opportunity to, is that when you're a drug user, heavy drug user, you tend to make deep relationships really quick. And same thing within the military. And because I've had to make these deep relationships, or because I have at least made them so many times over and over again, I find it very easy to love and to care about just about all human beings.
Marty, I don't know if I want to go much further than this, because I like how this is ending, because what I'm hearing, Joe, from you and Marty, love might be the ultimate key to self-discipline. Loving yourself, loving the person next to you. Marty, you loving me as my accountability partner, knowing that you have my back, knowing that you're thinking about me, going, no, Keith, don't eat this chocolate, man. I got it for you. Don't do it, man, because I know that you don't want to do it, Keith. I know you don't want to do it. And you thinking about it when I'm not thinking about it, like, that's love. That's teaching self-discipline, isn't it? And that, to me, maybe is the ultimate message, isn't it, Joe?
It really might be. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Right? Is that love is really the ultimate in teaching self-discipline, because if you can surround yourself an accountability partner who loves you, oh man, you can accomplish anything, frankly.
Yeah, in feeling and in action.
Yeah. Yeah. Gentlemen, what an exceptional conversation. I didn't know where it was going to go today. In my mind, it was like raw self-discipline, got to do push-ups every single day. And yet we're moving along this idea of really achieving self-discipline is breaking the barriers down between human beings and creating self-love and creating love for each other, and then putting that accountability in the middle of it and saying, no, Bilous, start your day with water. I got your back, man. Leave the Reese's peanut butter alone. Just start your day with water and do it every single day. Call me if you got a problem.
Yeah, and do the push-ups.
And
do the push-ups.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I can't get out of that part.
No, I actually love this convo, because people think like fitness coaches or just coaches in general just so hardcore and have no soul, you know. So I actually like how the direction this conversation went in.
Yeah, me too. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Joe Malone, dude, I told you this last time we hung out, man. I got a lot of fondness for you, man. You come back here any single time and hang out with us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Honest to God, you know, the wisdom you spew, your life experience that you share. I know that many people listening right now and then in the post-show stuff is going to gain a lot from our conversation today. So you come back any single moment. Marty, the future's got something to throw at you, man, before we wrap up the show today. And Joe, I'm not sure if you're a basketball guy, but the future and Marty have been talking about basketball. And Marty?
Yeah, I was not expecting this at all. I'm shocked. I'm glad I don't gamble, because I would be broke. I mean, come on, Mavs. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Highly disappointed.
Joe, are you a basketball guy?
No, man. I was gone for so many years, dude.
Yeah.
By the time I came back to the States, really, like, I was so lost in all sports and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I bet. Yes, it was a great ending, Enzo. It was a great conversation. Marty, let's give Joe the privilege of, Joe, how can Nation find you? How can folks get a hold of you? And take a quick minute to pump Joe Malone training, the stuff you do, how you help human beings every single day of their lives get better. Joe, take a second to pump yourself, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. So JoeMaloneTraining.com is where you could find me. Instagram, Joseph Malone Official. And that's it, dude. You know, we got an online community. We teach people how to develop the mindset, the skill sets, and the habits to really elevate themselves in any area of life. And we do that by focusing on something called the lethal lifestyle, where you learn how to secure yourself, your home, your family, your loved ones. Because if I could look out for myself, I could look out for you. And if you could do the same for me, then society could be a much better, much greater place. And you could live a more present, fulfilled life. Open heart, open mind. So it's all about, man. So if you want to join a community of people who are learning how to do those things, keep themselves and others safe, be positive, and beautify all things in life, JoeMaloneTraining.com is a place to be.
JoeMaloneTraining.com is a place to be. Come find Joe on LinkedIn. Come find Joe on Instagram. Nation, you got Joe creates great content. Honest to God. So I cannot encourage you enough to check him out. Go find his stuff. Go engage with Joe. This is my second hour spending with Joe, and I'm eager to spend more time with him. So Nation, I invite you to spend some more time with Joe along the way. Marty, let's rock and roll out of here today, pal. Come knock on your door. I know we got a busy one. Joe, you have a great one today. What a great discussion, guys. We are back tomorrow morning. Joe, tomorrow morning's discussion, we got a couple guests coming in, Marty. The 5 a.m. Club. We're talking about what kind of magic happens at 5 a.m. and before 5 a.m. That's how you create discipline. What's the first thing you do when you get out of bed, Joe? You do what?
Well, I take a freezing cold shower.
Oh, okay. So you're going to get Marty and Bilous on the cold bath, cold shower discussion. I guess that's going to, okay, coming up in a couple of weeks, the power of cold bath with Joe Malone.
Yeah. I'll be there.
That's a good topic.
It's a good topic. All right, Nation, have a great one. We're going to get out of here. Going to go to work. You can find us in the feeds. Come like our show, Mornings in the Lab on YouTube. Come subscribe. Come and get it thrown in there. Come hit the old email inside.bapl.ai. Get some stuff sent to your inbox. We're around every single day, Monday to Friday, Mornings in the Lab, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll see you guys tomorrow.